Thank you, Doug. Division meeting of the Piedmont Division of the NMRA. My name is Perry Lamb. I am the superintendent of the division. This is, if not, it's the best division of the NMRA anywhere on the planet. And in about a month, you'll be able to see that on the web because Bob is making progress. And that's really cool. Please remember, if you are online, you are an official participant in the division meeting, so you're here and you're eligible to vote for. If you are a standing division member, you are eligible to vote. We do have a item to vote on tonight for the membership. For voting, there is the ability in the WebEx meeting to raise your hand. And if you hover over yourself, like I'm doing now, if you hover over yourself in the membership or in the participants list, there is a function where you can raise your hand to vote yes or no for something. And so that would be your way to vote on the question that is coming up before the membership tonight, assuming we have 60 people, and I believe we do. The first thing that we're going to do this evening is, please remember, if you're online or even if you're here, on the division website, there is the ability to donate to the operations of the division. It's something I've set up to do. So every month on the same day of the month, and sadly our division meeting moves, so it doesn't actually appear right next to our division meeting like it did 2 or 3 months ago when I set it up. You can donate to the functions of the division, like renting this room, via PayPal on the division website. It means that I don't have to carry $3 in cash with me to stick into the very happy bag that's going to go wandering around the table in a minute. It's easier for me. I don't tend to carry tons of cash, but if you want to contribute that way, that's great, but you can also do it via PayPal. And it's very convenient, and it goes every month. That's going to be one way to get yourself entered, to have your layout as the featured layout for the new division website that Bob and his team are putting together. Next, first-time attendees, and I met one already, but with my reading glasses on, I can't see him. Where'd he go? Stick your wherever you are, put your hand up and stand up. There are a couple of them over there, so we can go get your information, and we can get you change glasses. We can get you to introduce yourselves. I'm Harry Galloway. And what scale do you model in? Oh, okay. Oh, second month.
My name's Bud Willis. I'm from Atlanta, and I'm getting back into the hobby in a way due to some life challenges and things, kids and family, that type of stuff. I started with no game flag scale, and I found out how much has changed since I've been away. Something called Bluetooth and all this other stuff, so I'm excited to be
No stuff, no, 157.
That we're glad to have you. Yes. Actually, we've got 2 more. Okay.
My name's Davin. I'm from Georgia, and I model picture scale.
What era?
I'm going to say it's 1960.
Okay, very good. Welcome. And over here.
Just getting started with intro and also the garden, like join the garden.
Boy, are you confused. Hello. Thank you. Very good. Oh, and a clinician shows up. Very good. Okay. Apparently there is a Atlanta Braves baseball game
Yes.
tonight. Yeah, who? In not Atlanta tonight. And it's a home game, and traffic on I-75, even when I was coming down, was kind of zoo lake. Go Braves. We need another World Series win. That would be very cool. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for showing up this evening. Thank you for traffic that let you get here. If you have a name tag, please look over there because your name tag is probably waiting for you if you're missing yours. There are a stack of them. Jim has been holding on to them for ages and would like to give them out to whoever it was who ordered them. So if you ordered a new name tag, please go pick it up. The next training camp of this year is September 23rd. The training camp's title is Building Fast Tracks Turnouts Using the Fast Tracks Jigs. We lost one attendee this evening, picked up a replacement. We have one open slot for that training camp. So if you would like to participate in that training camp, please email me. My contact information is on the division webpage because there is a very specific tool list that you need, and you'll need to collect that information, or you'll need that information. The location is in email. All that info, and there is a list of the turnout jigs that we have available. So far, a couple of people have spoken up to say what jigs they want to use, but the division was very sadly willed a collection of Fast Tracks jigs. We have about a dozen of them, probably $4,000 worth of Fast Tracks jigs that were just given to us. It's nice. I mean, everything from number 5s in both code 83 and code 100 up to number 12s in code 83, plus a slip switch and all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you really like high-speed passenger rail, Doug, a number 12 crossover would really be cool.
I have,
But it would be about that long.
yes, it would.
Yes.
Amazing. The actual switch was that long.
Yeah.
And two of them.
Yeah. And I have this urge to build a number 12 turnout. I'm not sure exactly where I would put it, but it would look cool on a railroad. Anyway. Gary, anything about needing volunteers? Not at the current time. Thank you. We've got our MMR instructors, so I think we're good. Thank you, sir. Hank and Jim. It's the Hank and Jim show. Please stand up so people online can see you. Yeah, come up here, please. And you can just speak. Speak to the computer. Yes.
Okay. We're talking about the train show that we had in March. It was a highly successful train show. Everybody had a lot of fun. I do want to thank those of you who volunteered and came out to help us. I really want to thank those guys that showed up and were there almost as long as I was there. They were working for 3 days. Yeah. And we truly appreciate the volunteers that showed up. We did well. We had twice as many people come through the door, paid people come through the door this time as we did in October. So we're moving forward. we're moving forward and we're doing well. We can't complain. Well, that's the good news. I'm going to have Jim tell you the bad news because you know you don't get all good news on this.
Thanks a lot, Hank. I want to get to the volunteer section. We had 110 slots that we needed volunteers for. We only had 52 volunteers. We were in trouble, folks. If it had not been for a bunch of folks that instead of the one that they volunteered for, they did two and sometimes three. We've had a few people that were there all 3 days, all day long. And I'm not going to pronounce names because a couple of them, I don't know who they are and I don't want to make that mistake. But thank you very much for filling in and just going headstrong, man. Sunday, we thought we were going to be in real trouble, but folks stepped up. We had people that didn't sign up to volunteer that got there and said, gosh, do you guys need some help? Yeah, we do. And they helped. So it was really a great show, but we could have really used some more volunteers. We were struggling there for a while. But anyway, we did. As a new venue, we probably had some expenses that we wouldn't normally have because we had to spend some additional money. But we actually spent $14,971 to put this show on. That was including the facilities, everything, the insurance, the taxes, and the sales tax that we had to pay, all the layouts. We had 13 layouts that were there, and 11 of those are going to get money for being there. A couple of them was our folks that had their layouts there, but 13 layouts was really an attraction for our folks, and it was really appreciated. I had a lot of comments on how much they appreciated the number of layouts that were there. But anyway, after spending $14,900 and some odd dollars, we came up with a net income of $14,237. So we almost was 1 for 1 expense to income. That's net income. That's money in our coffers. We haven't had a revenue show like that for a few years. And I just am really pleased that we were able to accomplish that. The division needed the money. We hadn't had any money for a couple of years, so this really helped out. We had 1,492 people paid, and 98 of those people paid online, which was great. We had a grand total of over 1,500, about almost 1,530, 1,540 people attend the show. And that was the volunteers, operators, and so on and so forth. That does not count the vendors. But we had 42 vendors, I think it was. That's right.
Yeah.
I think it was 42 different vendors, and we sold 149 tables. So we had a great show. With that, we had a white elephant sale of $4,384. That was the division's part of the white elephant sales. A little over $3,100 of that came from a donation that was given to us by Pam Cup. Her husband passed away, Bob Cup. He was a member of this organization at one point because we saw his name tag for the national convention that we had here. So at one point he was here. He was a part of this, but I don't know him. Some of you might know him. But $3,100 of that $4,384 was from what she donated, and we've got that much and more to go forward with. So that's a donation that Hank and I brought in and priced and spent a lot of time doing it. In addition to that, we pre-sold 40 tables for our 2023 show, and they actually paid $2,450 up in advance. to come to that show. So we've got 40 of our 150 tables already sold. So we're moving forward. We're having a good time with the train show. And we're just hoping that next year will be just as good or not better. So.
Yay. Thank you. That is excellent. That part of the reason why our division is really excellent. Charlie Mason, you're next on the schedule.
I am Charlie Mason, your AP chairman for the Piedmont Division. And tonight I have the privilege of presenting the AP Civil Engineering Certificate to Perry Lamb. Here is your certificate, and with that, in order to meet one of the requirements, Perry had to scratch build 3 pieces of track work and earn MERT awards on those 3. So I have a MERT award for Perry for his left-hand turnout, one for his single crossover, and one for his scale track. And congratulations, Perry.
Thank you, sir.
And that makes Perry's 5th AP certificate. So 2 more, well, the right 2.
Yes.
And that will mean that Perry will have earned the MMR title. Congratulations, Perry.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
We are having a model contest tonight down on the far side of the wall. We will be doing the judging in just a few minutes. So during break or after the meeting, stop and take a look at the models.
This will take a while. Rick Coble. Yes, before bringing Bragg. So yes, you are the business.
Last month, the board of directors approved a proposed change to our bylaws. I think we all agree that we should meet in person every month and have our elections here. It's better. The last 2 years, we haven't. So the change will give our board the ability to authorize another method of voting ahead of time. It could be online, like we've done the last couple of years. They could have us send out letters to people. But with this change, the director of administration will let all of us know at least a month ahead of time how we're going to vote, which is nice. The other issue is, well, the issue of quorum. In our bylaws, to have an official meeting, we need a quorum of 60 members. And the last couple of years, that's been a problem. So what we propose to do is get rid of the quorum just during the meeting where we hold an election. That's the only difference. So, and that is it. So would someone call for a vote? We need 2/3 members to approve the proposed change for it to take effect.
And we have sufficient members both.
And we have a
here
quorum here.
online. We have a quorum. We actually have a quorum here in this room.
Call the question.
Second.
Okay.
Everybody in favor?
Please raise your hands and keep them up.
Okay, that's too good.
Tell my line to raise the hand.
And online, please raise your hands. You can click, but we have 2/3 here already. But it would still be nice to see the people online also.
Most of them got their pictures up. And hands up on.
65, 71. So we would need, we got it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we can modify our bylaws now. Thank you very much.
You need to say officially the motion passes.
Oh, that's true. Officially, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, parliamentary.
Yes, thank you, parliamentarian.
I've done that.
Bring and brag. If you brought something for bring and brag, please come forward and we will look at your items. Because there are some nice old structures here, because that was the bring and brag topic for tonight.
So I brought a couple of these that have already been judged. I'm doing right now a coal branch. It's based in northeastern Pennsylvania. I model Scranton, Pennsylvania, but I'm really catering it to look more like the pure Appalachia kind of look and feel of the old DL&W, the Erie Lock one that I model certainly has some coal mines, coal branch lines. But that business in anthracite coal was really just plummeting in the time that I modeled in the 1960s. So I grew up on a branch line of the DL&W, the Erie Lackawanna, and there was a decrepit old freight house that I used to hang out in and watch trains go by. I envisioned this as it stood when it was first built. Some of the roofing was missing, some of the frames were rotted out, and certainly you can get killed walking across the deck because it had so many holes in it. So I took some liberties in trying to recreate this to give not only the old DL&W look, but that Appalachian freight house kind of look. The branch line is the Bulls Gap branch. There's a hay barn here, which I did. It was based on something actually Steve Bunsen up at Blue Ox Trains had done. It's in his cabinet. It's a smaller version, but I just really love the character of the barn that Steve had built. So I did a little larger version. It's both of these are scratch built, and there's something over 1,000 parts in each of these models. In Scranton, Pennsylvania, because that's the center of my layout. If you go to Steamtown, this is the Matz Avenue tower. It sits on the eastern or southern end of the yard in Scranton. This is actually started as a kit by N-Scale Architect. It's a laser cut model. And what I'll do is I'll open it up and leave it here, but I finished up the interior of it. And please take a look. I'd love your comments afterwards. And then one last one. In Scranton, Pennsylvania, back in the early 1800s, Lackawanna River runs through there, the Delaware Lackawanna Western Railroad. So the old Lackawanna steel that was in Buffalo, New York, actually started in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And since it's my railroad and I make the rules, Lackawanna steel is still going to be in Scranton, Pennsylvania in the late 1960s. So I've done all of the steel mill buildings and things. I just love it. I was an iron worker for 3 years, put myself through night school. I brought this. It's a State Tool and Die. If people are aware, they have these specialty line of different steel mill rolling stock equipment, things like that. They sell these they're actually flexural testing bars or notch-sized Sharpie impact bars for plastics, but they sell them in bright orange. And if you take a look, I tried to get that look of the steel cooling down as they move around the mill and go to a rolling mill. So I just kind of sprayed the corners, overspray with an airbrush. And in different ways, I got to tell you, I've ruined a bunch of them. It started to come out good after $30 worth of garbage. But and I just wanted to point that out. I know a lot of guys model steel. It's a great way to try to dress up an area on your layout. Thank you.
I'm afraid I'm Stephen Datelski. I'm modeling the Etowah Old line, as it's known, today known as the GNRR, and of course, a lot of marble work goes on along that line. So I took, and this is just a humble contribution compared to the scratch buildings, because all I did was kidnap, and lots of people will recognize the Glacier gravel. You see them on a lot of layouts, and you go from one layout to another. And I do have to say, they often all look the same. Yeah. I don't like building kits and keeping them the same as the manufacturing kit. So this is what I did with the Glacier gravel. changed some things. There was a loader out here that came out over the tracks, took that off. The conveyor belt here on this part was coming off at an angle. There was another one over here. I closed those off because I didn't want two conveyor belts. But otherwise, so there are some changes to the basic always there. Of course, I don't want the same color that Walford is intended because it's not gravel, it's marble, which everything becomes white there. And also for the conveyor belt, one thing I didn't like about it, the conveyor belts in the kit come without conveyor belts. All they are is a bit of structure with a roof. And there's nothing in it. So I looked around on the internet and found someone that was actually making 3D printing conveyor belt parts. And I downloaded that, and I've just received a 3D resin print. That thing is absolutely amazing. It makes some beautifully detailed work. Come up and look here. I can. I'll take this off. You can see the piece sticking out there, which is part of that 3D printing. But the rollers and the frame are 3D printed with this piece of black, heavy black paper that's used for the sprayer bag. It's all dirty up. A lot of white padding stuff fixing the marble. Yeah, just lots of fun changing things around. If you have any questions, let me know.
The things you can do with 3D printing, it's amazing. And the technology just keeps changing. The main meeting will be kit bashing 89-foot military flat cars. The DoD has a demand for them. There's some interesting background information that'll be in the presentation. There is an April members only open house. Jerry Mitch's layout is open on April 23rd. That information is posted online. The SCR convention is the 2023 SCR convention is coming. We do need operating sessions or operation sessions that are available for that. Please let Walt's team know if you're interested in that. That team also needs clinicians. We've already talked about training camp. We need volunteers. We do need volunteers to host members only open houses for the rest of the year. Please contact Tom Gordon if you're interested. We need a volunteer coordinator for our displays at the June model train days at the Southeast Railroad Museum. It's a fairly easy job. You just need to a single point of contact for the organization and the Southeast region. Tonight's presentation, in just after a short break, will be Jim and Chris, and they're going to talk about adding operations, realistic operations to your layout. It's something that's very interesting. Jim is a actual real live, as the Canadians call them, since I just got back from Canada. Jim is a real live RTC in the real world, so his input and his insight into operations as they apply to modeling, I think, will be really cool. So in a bit, we'll have Jim talk about that. We'll take about a 15-minute break and get Jim set up, and you all can socialize, and we'll be ready to continue in about 15 minutes. Cheers. Jim. Yes, sir.
You say we should see about operating savings convention.
Yes. It is. A second. Let me get my reading glasses, and I can tell you. Actually, it is Scott Dunlap.
Okay.
He's doing the presentation in June. So that might,
Oh, that, if I'm here.
well, he's doing but Scott Dunlap will be the person to find.
Okay,
Or just reach out to Walt and he can he can send your information to Scott and Scott can get a hold of you.
okay.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
That would be fun.
Yep. Have you thought about getting a microphone for the room?
There actually is a microphone for the room. You mean like a broadcast microphone for the room? Yeah, that we don't have, mostly because I project well and the other people who stood up here to project, but there is one. Okay, we'll see what we can do about doing that, especially as we added people. As we've added people, it makes it a little bit harder. We'll work on that.
Tell me again the date for the Southeastern Rail Museum function.
It is
June.
The June model train days. It doesn't say. We'll have to go look on their calendar. I just don't know what the day is.
Okay. I'll check.
Okay.
If I'm in town, I'll step up for that because I'm a volunteer there anyway, and an engineer out there.
Ah,
So I could, it'd be easy, but I may have a date conflict, so I'll go to their website, check, and then I'll get
okay.
back to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Also, let Joe know because he's the person who will assign that task.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
Barry, I'm interested in knowing more about that training camp for the switch machine. I mean, turnout.
For turnouts.
Yes.
We will be using the Fast Tracks jigs. Have you seen those milled aluminum jigs?
Right. Can I sign up?
Send me an email. You'll be the sixth participant, and that's it. Perfect.
Conrad Stuckey.
Yep. Send me an email, and even if it goes my spam filter, I'll get it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. All right. Okay. Are you still checking them?
Oh, wait a second. This computer or USB disk. Yeah.
Okay. That's the PowerPoint, adding realism to your.
It'll run faster from the hard drive.
Okay. And then I've got these four things here. People to download and alter for their use
Okay.
if they want to do that.
Okay.
I hope what I did worked, but they're PDFs. And they're also part of the thing, but what I need in here is all in here.
Oh, I may not have a PDF reader on my, which is why it doesn't recognize them. So,
Okay.
yeah, I haven't had a need yet to install a PDF reader, but
What I'll do is I'll send that podcast home.
yep, that'll work. Okay, so your presentation is here. We'll drag it up here really quickly. Come on, load, please. Or wait, and then it'll load. How big is it?
Not really big. Like 12 slides of that. 15 at most.
Okay, it's here. So, do you need a clicker, or are you just going to use enter or whatever?
I can just hit enter on here.
And you have an assistant,
Yeah.
a paid assistant. Okay.
I got Cinder. That's all I got.
Ah, somehow I don't think that's quite fair. And since I saw you last, because I have a picture of you in one of my presentations, and you couldn't look over the top second deck of my layout, and now you could probably see across my layout. Interesting. Do you NS or CSX?
NS.
NS. I think I said CSX last time, and it's NS. That's right. I own your contract.
Yeah.
My railroad owns your contract. Okay. So we'll just run up to slideshow from beginning, and that'll work.
Okay.
Come on, load, please. There we go. And this is the current slide. That's the next slide. So don't look at this and assume that everybody else sees it, because all I see is your opening slide.
Okay.
And so what we will do is we'll bring the WebEx meeting back up. And when we get to that point, after I introduce you, we'll share the desktop, and that'll make that and minimize this, and that'll make your presentation the principal thing that everybody sees online and in here.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Okay. People online will see your major slides plus the preview slide. Everybody in here, there are 50, well, there's 60 people in here. They'll see just your major slides. Okay. And you can either hit the enter key or use the mouse and click on the next button, whatever. And if you need to go backwards, you just use the backspace key, which is
Right there.
yep, right there.
All right.
Okay.
That'll be fine. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir.
now or Saturday?
Where the heck did he go? Jim Foley is our director of finance. It would be easier just to give it straight to him. So just give it to Jim Foley and tell him that it's for training camp. But email me, because I don't have on the list that you paid yet.
Okay.
So if you would do that, that would be excellent.
All right.
Okay. He was sitting right there. He's just gotten up to wonders of, oh, he's standing right over there. Yeah. Talking to Bob. $15. Yep. Don't forget him before you go home. There you go. We were on that slide. It is nice.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Very nice. I need to look at you.
Perry,
Yes, sir.
can you make an announcement before you start? I want you to start up with that new members have to fill out a form for a name tag. If they want a name tag,
I can do that.
please.
You're welcome. Is this what you bought? Pictures? Yeah, I do understand. Sure. Excellent. What's your name? We will be in our next newsletter. We do our online newsletter. Okay, folks, it is time to begin this evening. One more short announcement for the people who are new. If you are a new member and you would like a name badge, please see Jim Bando. He has a nifty form for you that you can fill out and he will produce a name badge for you. And they're nice badges. If you have a name badge already over there, please go see Jim so that he can give it to you because he's been carrying around a stack of them forever. Okay, our clinician tonight is an actual Norfolk Southern dispatcher, or RTC if you're from Canada. Jim Davis is going to talk about adding operations to your model railroad. Since he is a full-time real-life dispatcher and a model railroader, joining the two together under with his information, I think should be really fascinating. So I'm going to go sit down and watch it after we bring this up. And we will share the entire desktop. Share. And bring up Jim's presentation. Let's see. Slideshow from beginning. Come on. Yes, we know we're sharing. And away we go. Let me get this out of your way too. There you go.
All right. I'm Jim Davis. This is my son Christopher, and as Perry said, I am a dispatcher. As Perry mentioned, I am a trained dispatcher for the railroad. So I've been with Norfolk Southern 32 years. Half of that I was a carman. The other half I've been a dispatcher. So I've seen a variety of things on the railroad, and a few years ago, we were members of NARB, North Atlanta Rail Barons, and we had a meeting and we were talking about operations and what you could do to make the operations a little different. We often go to an operating session and everything just runs smooth as silk and you don't have any problems. And when you do have problems, we usually jump right out and remove the problem or fix it really quick and just try to keep going. Well, we all know when we go to our jobs, and like today, driving down here, I allowed plenty of time to get here on time, but 75 was backed up and I got here late. Life just has things happen. So what we're talking about is adding realism to your operations. And a lot of people, operations are totally different, all depending on your style. Some people are very formal and have forms. Christopher and I went to Stefan Bertelski's open house during the pilgrimage, and I was really, really impressed with how he uses the JMRI, doing his track authorities and stuff like that. That was, for my profession, I had a ball learning that with him. I will not have that on my layout because that's what I do. So I don't want that. But I would have fun on somebody else's layout. But, there's so many different ways of doing your operations. So I wanted to add realism to our realistic operations. And as you can see, our picture here, this really happens. This kind of stuff really does happen. I don't want my models doing that. but that does happen. So when we have an operation session, if you have a train that comes uncoupled, we're going to quickly grab it and couple it right back up and go on. That don't happen in real life. Train comes uncoupled, go ahead and make it a delay. Say you got a broken knuckle, or maybe the cars just came uncoupled. That does happen. So incorporate that to your operating sessions. There are different kinds. Well, that didn't work, did it? Let's see. I'll do that. Barry, I hit enter, but it didn't move. Good. Let me try that. There we go. Here we go. So types of delays, you got mechanical, engineering, and transportation. Engineering is maintenance away and signals department. So you got mechanical issues, train coming uncoupled, broken knuckles, broken couplers, hot boxes, things like that. Those are mechanical delays. Engineering, you got broken rails. Wintertime, you run into broken rails. Summertime, you got sun kinks where you got the welded rail. The rail gets hot, it will kink. Signals, you got slide fences. Rock falls through a slide fence, you get a red track circuit. So you can't run anything till you find out what's caused the red circuit. You got switch failures, that falls under signals. Switch doesn't throw, that is very common. So when your tortoise machines don't work, you're just like the real thing. So, and then you got transportation delays. That varies from lots of different things. You get a phone call in the office that there's a car stuck on a crossing. So you got to stop the trains, can't let them go by there. You may get a call that there's a trespasser. Just a couple of nights ago, we got a phone call that there were police around the tracks in one area. And then listening on the radio, I heard a yard crew saying that there were police all over the place where they were, and that was not the same location. So we ended up holding traffic right in the middle of downtown Roanoke, Virginia, because we had police officers all over the tracks looking for a suspect. So there's another delay. So there are the different types of things that happen. So here's a picture of a broken wheel. Yeah. So, you see here, hot box, dragging equipment, unit failures. An engine quits running, quits loading, or we've had engines blow up. Just lots of different things. And it never fails. The units fail when you don't have enough power when it does die to keep going. And they're always on a hill, and they're never where you can get to them. So, let's see, engineering, maintenance way. So I mentioned power switch failures, sun kinks in the summertime, broken rails in the wintertime. What happens is summertime, that rail expands when it gets hot. Wintertime, it contracts when it gets cold. And you got 3 or 4 miles of welded rail. Something's going to give somewhere. Slide fences. And then you also slow orders. Maybe they've done some work on the track, and so you got to slow the train down over a section of track where they've done some work till it all settles. Or somebody ran off the road and hit the track and knocked it out of alignment, so they have you go 10 miles per hour at a crossing until they can get the equipment in there to straighten out everything. Now this, I don't know if you can tell what that is. I don't know how they did it, but somebody put a porta potty on top of a signal mast. Okay. So,
Well, at least it's convenient.
that one was interesting. I asked, I said, what is that thing? It said it's a porta potty. The maintainer went out there. I don't know if they reported signals being blocked out or just something up there, but that's what it was. I don't want to know how they got it down. I don't want to know how they got it up there either. So here are your transportation delays. Trespassers, vehicles on tracks, people on tracks. Those of you who model modern day, if you model modern day, then you will put everything you have on your layout behind 2 or 3 engines. And you will run it, and it will not fit anywhere on your layout.
Won't you also put all the empties up front?
Yeah. Well, when you do that, then you're going to have everybody coming out to see the derailments. But yeah, trains too long. We run into that, and they won't fit in sidings. So they have to wait where they can meet another train that will fit. So your delays are because they're too long. That's another reason why I model 40s and 50s. No PSR on my model railroad. I will not model that. A lot of times you get to a yard and you don't have room to get it in. I've been in operating sessions. We've had trains come around and the yard wasn't ready. The yard still had to keep working. That's a realistic delay. So you hold them out. Trains stalled on the grades. And some of these things, they don't have to really happen on your layout. You can make it happen. You can simulate something has gone wrong. But the thing about this is we so often do an operating session with no problems at all. If you do that and you're so used to it, take something from this and introduce it. And we're going to show you how to do that, or at least try to. So there are different kinds. You got train to dispatcher delays. You got dispatcher to train delays. Train to dispatcher, train goes into emergency. They notify me, tell me what's going on. So they're letting me know they are in emergency. They're telling me they hit a car, they hit a person. I got to start taking down information. What happened, what time it was, where it was, crew member okay, any people in the car when they hit the car. The last thing I ever want to hear is, yeah, I hit a car and there was a car seat in it. I do not want to hear that. I have heard that. That's just not good. Then they tell you that they stalled on the mountain. Well, why did they stall? Is it raining? Did they run at tonnage? Did they lose a motor? Did they run out of sand? There's lots of different reasons. Unit failures. We've had them run out of fuel. We've had them stop loading. You know, you got electricity there and you got breakers and you got wiring that wears out. And wires get hot and the system shuts it down, and you go from having 4,000 horsepower. Now the engine's only producing about 2,000 horsepower because something's gone wrong electrically. Then you got hot boxes and dragging equipment. So when you are doing your operations, these are things we're going to hopefully show you how you can put things in place to where your train crew has to let the dispatcher know this has happened. dispatcher has to figure out, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to coordinate my train operations? Let's see, dispatcher to train delays. If I'm going too fast, y'all just let me know. We'll get phone calls about vehicles on the track, crossing gates not working, stuff like that. So we need to let the train crew know, hey, there's a report of people on the track. Don't go past milepost, whatever. Or there are people in the area, come by, looking out, sounding your horn, ringing your bell. Sometimes we give slow orders. Maintenance Way has been out during the day working, and they got a section of track. They want to get so many tons of traffic over, and then you can take it from 10 miles per hour to 25. So we give people slow orders. So this is one of the things that you would give to the dispatcher, and you say, okay, when at certain time, you need to start giving out the slow order to these trains. So then the train crews have to start slowing their trains down. So then again, dispatcher has to figure out how are we going to work this. Crossing malfunctions. Crossing malfunctions is, well, the gate's not working. Gate's working when there's no train. I may have a picture in here, I'm not sure. I had a car hit a crossing, the lights, and when they hit it, the top half landed on the other side of the track. The bottom half was broken off fairly low, but pulled the concrete base out of the ground. I don't know who hit it, what they were driving. They were not there. It must have been a pretty good vehicle, but yeah, it did a lot of damage. But there again, I had to tell the trains they had to stop and flag the crossing. So there's another delay. It's going to slow you down. Sometimes you'll have a train come up behind another train that has had a problem. Maybe they stalled on the mountain. Maybe they had a unit failure. Maybe they had a train separation. But because of them, the train behind it can't get around them, so he gets delayed. And then sometimes you have that train behind them cut off and push them over a mountain, come back and get their train. So then they're delayed even more because they had to help that one go back and then get their train and then go on. So this is where I'm going to have Christopher come in and help. How to apply your operations, how to apply this to your operations. So the reason I've drugged Christopher into this is when I come up with an idea and we're talking about stuff like this, he sits down on the computer and normally makes up forms and stuff like that for me. So things we talked about is, will it be a train to dispatcher or dispatcher to train delay? How long are you going to make your delay? Do you run with the fast clock? You run with the fast clock, then you can make your delay fit with the fast clock. If you run with just real time and your stops and stations and stuff are like 1 minute, 2 minutes, then you would adjust your delay for that kind of time frame. And how many do you have in a session? You got a bunch of people that's been doing this for 20 years. You could probably throw 2 or 3, 4 of them in there. You got people you don't like, put 5 or 6 of them in there and run them off. I would say do one till you kind of get the feel of it. But what we're going to, the stuff that we hope to supply with you is enough stuff to be able to pick a variety of stuff. So you can have a unit failure. You can have a shop car that needs to be set out. You could just say, okay, I know I've got a car that the couplers don't like to work properly and they'll uncouple. So make sure you put that one in there Don't put any delay in there, but tell them when you have that problem, you got your delay then. So now we'll say another big advantage to modeling like steam era, you don't have loading issues with steam engines like you do diesels. So that is a plus. I'm sure that I know they had issues with steam engines, but as long as you had coal and water or oil and water, if you modeled out west, you're pretty good. So the unit failures probably wouldn't be good for people like Thomas Lloyd and myself. But yeah, you just want to decide how many you want. So Christopher's going to kind of go over the forms, and we're going to try to give you ideas of how this would work while we're also doing this.
I just have a quick question. So this is a planned problem in addition to all the ones that naturally happen on a road.
Right. For your operating sessions, you can plan your problems. Now, on the real railroad, no, we don't plan for problems.
Believe me, on my way out, I don't plan for it.
See,
They happen.
that's the way to make this work. So when you know they're going to happen, just go ahead and be ready for it. So, but like I say, you know, growing up, I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I was a member of the Carolina Model Railroaders. Big club layout. It's a big club. We hosted a couple of MER conventions in Greensboro. We had a set day each month to do operating sessions. Most people were too intimidated to do them. So me and a couple other people got together and we created a timetable, we created a plan, everything to do operating sessions, because most people just didn't think about how you're going to do an operating session. They just got there and ran trains around in circles. So we had one guy that was from the N-scale side that came over to help us, and we had a train derail. Our first instinct was, let's just pick the thing up. It's like, no. Says, go get the big hook, bring it out here. So we had to get somebody to go get the derrick. We had to uncouple the cars that were not derailed, pull them out of the way. We got the derrick in place, and then we started putting the cars on the track with our hands. We didn't just fix it right away. It made the operation that night a whole lot more fun. We had a lot of fun with that. We didn't run a lot of trains, but we had a lot of fun. Everybody was at the derailment. Thank goodness we did not run live loads either, because they were all loaded hoppers. But yeah, that's the thing that I think makes this hobby so much fun, is you can just sit there and run your trains around and around. You can have a good operating session. And so often we go in and we're like, yeah, I got all that work done. Believe me, that ain't the way it is on the real railroad. We don't always get everything done. There's a lot of factors that come into play. So just to make your operations a little more interesting, this is kind of why we came up with this idea. So I'm going to let Christopher kind of step in here with us. Oh, I thought that was mine.
All right, so you got 4 forms that you're going to be using. This is the unit failure. You come on here, you put your unit number, location, where you are, the trouble, what is wrong with the motor, and then your total delay. And then you come down here at the bottom and put what all trains are delayed. So you don't just delay one train in the session. And then you're going to have a shop car delay. So you're going to put your car number, location, nature and defect, whether it's a knuckle, hot box, any of that kind of stuff. Location is set out, where in the train it is, your total delay, and your other train's delayed. And then you have your signal trouble. So you have where the signal is, the trouble, the cause, and then the delays, what all trains you delayed. And then you're going to have your speed restrictions. So it's going to be from MP, wherever it starts, to the next the milepost where it ends, how fast the restriction is for, and then the reason, and then you come down here and put all the trains it applies to.
So what we'll do is we'll start off with this one, speed restriction. From to, if you have mileposts, use milepost. If you don't, you can just name town to town, or however you want to do it. Your speed, figure out how you want to do your speed. Maybe you want to say, okay, don't go over so many speed steps, don't go over so many volts or whatever, however you want to do it. Then the reason, is it track conditions? Is it a broken frog on a switch? Things like that. And then what we have to do on our job is for each train we give it to, we write down the train and what time they got it. So that makes sure you know what train's got it, who's going to be slowed down and everything. Now, the thing we didn't think about is the dispatcher has this form. Train crew has to write down this information. We recommend you just give a few blank ones for each group, operating group out there. When they get their car cards or however they have it, put some of these in there so they've got something to write down if that happens to be an issue that they deal with when they're operating. Not every train gets delayed. So that's the other thing. Don't think you have to delay everybody. So that's what you would do. So you do not exceed 10 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour, however you want to work that. Let's go back. Signal trouble. It's going to be your crossing malfunctions, switches not working. Power switches fall under the signal department because the switches are connected to your signals. So switches, red track circuits. If you got slide fences, pretend you had a rock fall through your slide fence. Don't tear up your scenery for it. Pretend you did. Unless you want something to do the next week, then y'all can. Sometimes lights burn out. A bulb burns out on the signal. Train come by and say, I got an approach here. Are you holding me for anything? No. They got a signal at the next, got a good signal at the next location. So when they get there, they got a good signal. So that tells us they got a bulb burned out. So when the bulb burns out, it downgrades to the next restrictive signal. Maybe you can pretend there's a bulb out just to slow somebody down. You don't have to stop them, just slow them down. Cause 10-minute delay. Let's see. Your shop car. That's when you have the car that comes uncoupled when you don't want it to. And if you got metal wheel sets, everything goes rolling down the bottom of the hill, but you don't want it to. Those things. You can set a car out because it came uncoupled. You put down where you set it out, so then you know, well, that person set that car out there. I need to make sure I go work on that car for the next operating session. Then you put in somebody's orders, you pick this car up at the next operating session. So, you just put down, if you actually had a car that gave you trouble, write it down. Write it down, put it in there, and go ahead and set it out. Don't just make it go so you can get through the operations with no trouble. Go ahead and have fun. Irritate everybody with it. So there's somebody. Yeah, that's right. So, we've got these forms. Hopefully we'll be able to get them to Bob and he can put them down so you all can download these. And I'm hoping they're made to where you all can go in and change them, take off my railroad company on there and put yours on there. But they're supposed to be PDFs where you can fill in the information. So if you're someone like Stefan Bertelski that has everything on the computer, you can type it into there and it all goes there. I do really like that thing. I like the idea of having everything on a tablet or something, so I don't have papers and I don't have car cards falling on the floor I have to pick up. I've done that. But I'm not going to use a computer to operate my trains though. So yeah, but so like we'll just do an instance. Say Christopher's got a train, and we'll just say NS 500, 200. All right, so you just come up with an issue that the car has and tell me what's going on.
All right, so train 500 has a shop car. It's got a knuckle split the train 70 cars back, and the total delay is going to be about 15 minutes. We got 45 minutes actually.
Yeah, 45 minutes. All right, so he tells me all this, so I'm going to write down, okay, he broke down at such a location. I know it's going to be a 45-minute delay, so we're going to make sure that our time frame equals whatever the delay is. And we're going to put where we set the car out. You know, it was 75 cars deep. It had this problem, so we're setting it out. And we're going to put down the delay to his train, total delay. That's his train. Maybe there's a train that caught up with them. They got 20-minute delay. So we put down that train symbol in 20 minutes. So that's how that would work. So then you kind of got an idea of what's going on out there. Yeah, we got a little bit of time. So unit failures. I'll kind of go ahead and go into the sort of the next section with this one. So this part, true stories that have happened. I'm going to get back to a unit failure situation I had. So here's a unit failure. I don't remember the date, the time. I know the train was a coal train, so it was probably something like a 746. I don't remember the unit. But the guy was on a pusher. He was pushing a Blues Creek coal train out of Roanoke. First grade out of Roanoke is pretty stiff hill. We call it Starkey Hill. And they were going up the hill. Train stops. The pusher man calls me and says, hey, he says, my engine just blew up. He said, there is hot oil everywhere. So, I asked him, I said, are you okay? He says, yes, I'm okay. But my engine's the one that blew up, and I cannot get out of the door because the hot oil is dripping down the cab of the locomotive. So you got an engine pushing a heavy coal train of 12, 14,000 ton coal train. That oil is going to be hot. We called shops. They came out. We called every official in the area. I believe we even had the fire department come out. They had to wipe the locomotive down so we could get the guy out of the cab because the oil was covered. The steps and the handrails were covered with the oil. You could not grab them even with gloves. They said it was going through the gloves. That's a bad unit failure. That's, but that was a real thing that happened. So, we get another engine out there, get it, bring the train back. We take that engine to the house, get another one. Several hours later, we give it another attempt and go up. Now, another problem you have, oil going all over a locomotive gets on the ground. You got a hazmat spill there. Plus, you got oil all over the track on a grade. Next train going up, you know what their problem's going to be. So I think some of the fun, some of the interesting stories I've had. I had a guy one day, he was coming up, a couple of engines and a few light cars. And he called me, said, "Hey, I just hit an automobile on the tracks. Cleared the main line, but it is fouling the siding. And didn't see anybody in the car." Said, "Conductor's going back to check it out." I said, "Are you two okay?" He said, "We're fine." I said, "Okay." I said, "What's the railroad crossing?" He said, "Wasn't that a crossing?" "Okay. Where are you located?" So he gave me the milepost. So I go pull up on the map. He's a half a mile from the nearest crossing. I said, how was the car? Where was the car? What they had done is there used to be an industry that crossed the road beside the track. Well, this guy decided to go up where the old track used to be, crossed over the siding, which is a lot lower than the main line, started going over the main line and got stuck. Got out of the car, walked on up to the house, a few houses up the road on the other side of the tracks. While he's gone, we come by and we cleared his car off the main line. So, not far from that location. Didn't delay any trains on this one. Had a guy come around in this same road, this particular line, we call it the pumpkin vine. There's curves everywhere, and the roads that follow it are even worse than the railroad. There's a sharp curve to the left as you're going north, and in the middle of the curve, there's a right-hand turn where road tees into it. So the train came by, and he radios me. He says, "You might want to call the police, have the locals come out. We just went by this location and the road over here. They know all these roads pretty well." He told me the name of the road. He said, "There is a car stuck in a tree." So, a car stuck in a tree. Okay. I said, "Where at?" I said, "East side, west side." He said, "It's on the east side." I said, "Okay." He says, "Not real high up in the trees, not fouling the railroad or anything." He said, "But it is in the tree." So I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to call." So I called our police department. They called the locals. They called back, let me know that, yes, there was a car in the tree, and the locals did know about it. They are trying to find the owner and figure out how he's going to get it out of the tree. So, now,
I would model
that would be good. This last one, we classified it as a trespasser delay. And Christopher and I went out to eat with the guys a couple of years ago, and we were talking about this. The engineer went out to eat with us when we went back to Virginia one day, and we laughed. We laughed when it happened. We laughed then, and we still laugh today on this one. There is a siding on the same line, the Winston-Salem line. There's a siding between Roanoke and Rocky Mount. Blaine is the south end, and this is a lot of farms in the area. He came up to Blaine. He got on the radio, told me, said, "Hey, Jim," says, "we've got about 10 cows in the gauge of the track in front of us." I said, "Okay." I said, "I will call maintenance away, see if they can get them to meet you at the next crossing and get these cows off the track." In the past, all of your maintenance away people knew all the farmers, and they knew all the fences that have holes. Well, nowadays, our new maintenance away people don't know all the locals, and apparently don't care to know the locals. I told them today, we got cattle in the track. I need somebody to come out here, get to this crossing so we can get them off the track. Well, they get to the crossing and there's nobody there. And when they got to the next crossing, he called me up, said, hey, he said, we got about 20 head of cattle in the gauge of the track. Now, cattle, I don't know how many of y'all know much about farming, but apparently they will not walk off out over the rail. They will stay right there in line with it. So here we are with a empty grain train and 20 head of cattle in front of us. And it's raining. It's about 1:30 in the morning. Get to the north end. Get to the north end where the siding ends. And he tones me up. I've called the maintenance way guy twice now. He says, Jim, says, we've got 30 head of cattle. And we're doing 2 miles per hour. So I said, well, let me call him a third time. See if anybody's coming out. So I called, woke this guy up a third time. He still had not sent anybody out there. I said, I need somebody at Taylor Road Crossing to block these cattle and get them off the track. So he never showed up. They stopped, said, we're going to stop here before the TSA. Conductor got off in the rain, walked up to see if they did get off the track at Taylor Road Crossing. No, they kept going. Just north of Taylor Road Crossing's a bridge. So he goes up there and he gets on the radio and says, what, Jim? Says, they didn't get off at the road crossing. They're still going up. He says, they're going out on the bridge now. It's like, okay. Well, I had a late power move come up behind them. So I told them, I said, y'all come up, couple up to this train, drag them back, get in the siding, run around, get everything put together. I'll get y'all a taxi. We'll get a relief crew when we get to cattle. So now it's gone from a maintenance away issue to a bridge and building department, B&B gang issue, because now they're on the bridge. The maintenance away said, oh, well, you need to call this guy. It's a bridge issue now. So I call them, tell them what I've got. They asked, why didn't maintenance away come out? So that's what I want to know too. I saw the video. I did not get a copy of it. Go ahead. No. Open deck. Open deck. So B&B comes down with a boom truck. State police are there. They bring a veterinarian because now we're figuring we got broken bones. We're going to have to put cattle down. We're going to have to do all this. 14 cattle fell between the ties on the bridge. They got out there with the boom truck in the rain, got every single cow off that bridge, walked back off of the bridge, got them off the tracks at the next road crossing where they should have gotten off the first time. Every single cow went home. Not a single one of them had to be put down. So,
Does that, Thanks the way you guys still have this job?
thank goodness he has been transferred somewhere else. Yes.
No.
Do you see the day when software will enable the owner of the layout to simulate some of this without the people participating knowing it's coming?
Oh, I'm sure that would happen. I'm sure so.
I mean,
More than likely,
do you tell people all the things that are going to happen or keep it a secret?
the way that I would do this, if I was doing this on an operating session, I would keep it all secret.
Yeah.
So what I would do is if it's going to be a dispatcher to train issue, if it was on my layout, I would get the operating session going. I would go over to the dispatcher and hand him a form. And then he'd read it. He'd look to see who's in the area. Then he'd tell the people that. Or go along on the layout and tape something to your fascia board. Tape it to your fascia board. Then when the train crew comes by, they see their engine number or their train symbol. They open the envelope and then they see what their problem is. Then they tell the dispatcher what they got. So nobody would know ahead of time. That's the way you'd want to do it.
It's like the chance cards in
Yeah, yeah, dance cards and Monopoly. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, you know, here's just some ideas, and you can make up about anything. It would happen. It will happen. I'd say the very first slide. This one right here. Those engines went up in the yard. I put the derail on. I went across the hall to go to the bathroom. I came back, and the derail, you see the split rail derail there. So that right there, it came rolling down and hit that. And the third engine up here was with these other two. I see the radio's toned up. I answered the radio, said, hey, he says, you got a red circuit down at Park Street? I said, nope. I said, you don't? No. I said, I got a derail flashing. But I said, I'm pretty sure that was on when I left. You should have a red circuit. He said, 3 engines just rolled down the hill. They rolled a mile out of the yard. Pitch black, no lights on them. The carman just happened to hear a roar. Thank goodness he was not. He stepped out of his shanty, and there they go right by him. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, there ain't nothing red on my board. So we went and did a playback, and sure enough, it went red, and the derail started flashing. And they rolled right out. So had I not put the derail on, they would have ended up going down the street in the middle of downtown Roanoke. They were lined up to go down the Winston-Salem line, and they would have never made it around that curve. They would have gone straight down Norfolk Avenue. And then I would have been gone.
So what happened?
No, they tied them down, but it wasn't enough brakes, and they rolled away from them.
So they weren't under power. They just rolled.
No, they were dead. Yeah, the war was just the wheels rolling down. And
So when you configure the other day, I sat at a crossing in Norcross. There were 2 up front, 2 in the middle, long container train.
Yeah.
Coming south. If some of that had failed, did the front engines have the power to pull it on through? Or
probably not.
it would have just stopped.
Yeah. Yep. If something would have gone, if the DP units would have failed, they would have had to stop.
So on your layout, you modeled the 40s and 50s. So you modeled timetable train order?
That is my plan. I'm still building mine. Yes, I do plan to do timetable train order.
I just remember reading lots of train orders, and they all have slow orders written on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way to let on the Form 19s, let them know.
Right. So what they did in those days, you had operators at all these different locations.
Right.
So the dispatcher would let the operator know, hey, you need to give this to these trains. And he'd have to make sure that he wrote them down. And then they would give them to him. Now with radio, we just do it over the radio. So yes, I'm gonna do timetable train order, but I'll probably incorporate a few modern day conveniences into mine.
I wish I could find somebody who could print up Form 19s on those flimsies.
He found a way to do it.
On flimsy?
Well, as close to flimsy as you can get. Yeah, it looks very real.
See that.
So, yeah, that's what we were talking about, train orders. Next thing I know, he's done printed up a file. He made a file, and what did you use?
Tracing.
Yeah, use tracing paper for the flimsy. As closest you can get. Closest that you can get. So it wasn't green and it wasn't quite as thin, but it still looks very real. Yeah, and I can try to get you a copy of that file that he made for me. You can adapt it for yours. Yeah, any other questions? I think that's pretty much all we had. They say Christopher was the one who comes up with the ideas for the forms. He's really good at making them. And what we did with these is I went by when we used to have paper forms in our office. We now have everything on the computer. With these are pretty close to what we have in the real railroad world. Now, another thing to do, on the railroad, we had yellow for our unit failures, blue for our slow orders, white were our shop cars. You can do different colors so that you will know, hey, yeah, I want to pick a green one, or I want to pick a blue one today. So that way you know what the issue is going to be. You know it's going to be a unit failure. You know it's going to be a car failure, or whatever you want to make it. But that is the end of our little thing. I hope this has been good for you all. I hope you all have enjoyed it. And this is our first time of doing it. So if y'all don't have any questions, we'll turn it back over to Perry.
That was cool. What form would you use for broken?
I would use signal and speed restrictions.
Okay.
Broken rail, you do signal because it caused a red circuit,
Okay.
and speed restriction because maintenance is going to fix it and put a speed restriction as they wake up. Yeah.
When they wake up or come back to their job or something, decide to go back to working. Because that was an issue that we had on the train that I was on. We got partway across northern Ontario and had a broken rail ahead of us.
Yeah.
So the train was delayed for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, if you're in a hurry, don't get them.
The purpose was the train trip, so we didn't care if it was late.
So you had an extra 3 hours.
We had an extra 3 hours on the train, yes.